Hey guys, welcome back to Handmade Home. I'm Hester and today a new episode in my Meet the Maker series, and we're gonna meet Kat Molesworth. Kat isn't a crafter as in she makes a physical product, but she's a crafter as in she creates communities for bloggers and other online creators, and she runs the conference Blogtacular, which is the biggest, best and friendliest blogging conference in Europe. Have a look at my video, my interview with Kat. It's a pretty long one for my standards, but Kat has just so much knowledge she wants to share with you, so I hope you like my interview with Kat Molesworth. Guys, I'm sitting down here with Kat Molesworth. I can't say your name properly, I have to say.
That's right.
Molesworth! If you listen to her podcast, you will know what I'm talking about. But Kat is a blogger, a vlogger, podcaster, community builder. You are a conference director, social media influencer, consultant, online creator, and a mom of 3. So thank you so much for having the time to sit down with me, for being a community builder. And with so many jobs, do you have like a normal day, a normal work day? How does your day normally look?
It depends on what time of year it is, really, because at this time of year in spring, we are currently 42 days away from the conference. Not that I'm counting. And every single day is taken up with conference business and making sure that we're taking steps forward all of the time. So this week, it's been a mix-up between getting speakers announced, going to press shows, and just paying bills. So like making sure all of the invoices go out in the right tax period. It's incredibly boring, but like really important.
And I reckon you work until like midnight every night.
Not every night. Not every night.
So where do you work? You have an office, you have a studio space?
So I have a studio space in my house. It was the playroom. I did used to work at a desk at the end of my bed. But as my children have grown up, it's been really nice to reclaim this space and move all of my stuff in. And the biggest difference has been I've got storage for my equipment, which was used to be like piled up around the house. Yeah. Whereas now I can put it into shelves and just put it out of the way. It's much nicer.
It's a bit easier to work now as well. Now you've got your designated space for just you.
Exactly. And it's just a lovely space to be in. I think that has been the biggest difference. I have a before blog on my website, which you can link to so that people can see the before pictures, because it was actually really messy. It looked really chaotic. And although I still have my nice things in here, it just didn't feel great to work in here. So like having taken the time to make everything really comfortable and just look how I want means I'm really excited to get in here every day.
Oh, perfect. Well, it looks beautiful. We're actually in the workspace right now. And when I walked up the street, I knew I was in the right house because you have the pink sofa. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's such a nice space. I reckon it's quite a little creative hub for you as well here.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's lovely to be able to have people come in and work with me as well. So if I have people visiting, they can sit on the famous pink sofa and cuddle up. And equally, the children, when I'm working and they're in the house, will come and sit in here and chat to me and sort of stroke the rug and roll around on the sofa and just, you know, generally enjoy the space rather than having to climb over piles of camera equipment.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but Kat's been blogging for 10 years. And I reckon in that period of 10 years, so much must have changed. Is there something from the olden days you quite miss?
Well, interestingly, I've actually been blogging since the 90s, since last century. Housewife Confidential, my current blog, is 10 years old this year. But on and off, I started little blogs and little online fanzines, and then they never really went anywhere because the community was very small and I lost interest and I was on dial-up.
Do make that noise every now and then.
Oh, the noise. I actually go and play it frequently. I really love that noise. But when we moved to this house 10 years ago, we got broadband. I suddenly had time on my hands and I went through a massive life change. So I started blogging. And back then it felt very small. You'd put something on your site, a few dozen people would look at it and communicate with you, and you know, that was really satisfying. Whereas I think now if I was starting, I would want to be perfect at like 10 different platforms straight away, rather than just trying to find my pace at writing, because that does take time.
And for you, saying you're a blogger, vlogger, and everything else, do you sometimes get weird reactions from people? Because I read this article recently that if you go to school now and you ask kids what you want to be, quite a lot of them say they want to become a vlogger or an influencer. So normal now, but when you used to say you're a blogger, would people ask you like, yeah, but what's your real job?
But no, most people didn't take me seriously because I had small children. And I think that I was able to kind of fly under the radar, because they were like, well, you have the kids, that's your main thing, and this blog is a thing on the side. And people would occasionally give me advice and say, oh, I think people could pay you money to put stuff on your blog. And I'd be like, really, do you think? I was writing for Bambino Goodies from about 2008 to 2012, I think. And Bambino was a really like clear website. It was really beautiful products for design-loving parents who didn't want to lose their sense of style when they had children. And that was quite easy for people to understand. So I think in the village, which is, you know, where I meet normal people, in my own like sort of community, people have got used to it over time. They've never really had a strange reaction. And I think now it depends what generation of people you're talking to. If I was talking to my grandfather's brother, who occasionally will chat about things, I would say I run a website and, you know, I teach people and I run a conference, and those are things that he can understand. Whereas I think if I said, oh, I share my feelings online, he might have a different perspective.
Yeah, true. And so when you talk about like being a professional blogger here in the UK, it's quite a big different than US professional bloggers. Do you think the markets will ever sort of sync and it'll be seen here as much as a proper job as back over in the US?
Well, I think people still meet with the same blank stares in the US. I think it's equally as weird depending on who you're talking to. And they're really different markets. First of all, the biggest difference is size. America is a continent, not a country. It is a continent. And it, you know, it has over, I think, 300 million more people than the UK. So, of course, there's going to be that much more money and that many more readers. And if you're thinking about working in a UK market and you compare it to the USA, I feel like sometimes it's apples and oranges. That said, I think the companies in America really are on the ball with what micro-influencers and bloggers can do for their brand. Whereas in the UK, they're still asking questions that should have been answered and actioned in 2007. Yeah. It's one of my bugbears when I go out to meet companies and they're like, oh, I'm not sure if this micro-influencer thing can work. And I just don't know where to go with that, because I know it works. We all know it works. That's why adverts work. That's why I'll be talking to companies who pay millions of pounds for television adverts, and they won't pay thousands of pounds to work with bloggers because they're not sure. Yeah. Test it by putting your feet in the water. And I think the onus is also on us in terms of moving the market on. We need to stop accepting crumbs for payment. We need to go out and pitch work on a regular basis. We need to come to events like Blogtacular, which I run, with the mind of, you know, being part of a collective and a union and a group of colleagues, as well as being friends. Because I think when we work together and we use collective power and they get these messages over and over, companies will start to change and agencies will start to change, and the balance will shift. I mean, at the moment, working with bloggers for a brand, even at the most expensive price per post, is cheap compared to any other kind of media, and it's cheap and it's effective. And if companies don't understand that, then what are we going to do?
Yeah, true. So here's to a good future, eh?
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. And talk about future, you just recently took up vlogging. Well, you've been vlogging for half a year now, but compared to your blogging career, it's quite recently. How are you getting on with that?
Well, last year I had created these really beautiful travel videos, and two things happened. Number one, nobody looked at them. Thousands of people looked at the blog posts, but only about 100 people actually clicked on the video. And number two, I felt like they were really passive. They lacked my voice. They lacked any reason for people to sort of engage with them. And I started to think about blogging and vlogging and the relationship between them. And I came to the conclusion that the reason blogs work so well is because your voice is in there and your friendship is part of the deal of reading the blog. And if my videos were all going to be passive and shot by me, but with me behind the camera the whole time, with no narrative and no chat, then I wasn't creating a blog, like a moving blog. I was just creating moving pictures, and that doesn't give people the same impact. So I decided it was time, after 7 years of being on YouTube, I decided it was time to commit to uploading every week. So I started vlogging, and I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So I chose the first person perspective. So I hold the camera, I talk to the camera, I show people what I do, but always there is me talking to people. So it's me sharing my thoughts, sometimes incredibly random. Me, you know, I'm alone in this room a huge amount. And it's really nice to be able to pick up the camera and talk to people. I might not get an immediate response, but I know that in a week's time, somebody's going to watch that video and that conversation is going to come back to me.
Yeah, because for me, my videos are more like me doing stuff in my DIY tutorials. And I'm quite a confident person in front of the camera, especially in a situation like this or when I'm in the studio. But actually holding a camera up like this in a busy street would really give me the shivers. How do you deal with that? How can you do it?
Because nobody cares about you. They're all so worried about themselves and what everyone thinks about them. They really don't care about you. And so you just, you know, you're never going to see that person again. I walked past a well-known journalist in the street yesterday who was on their phone and they picked their nose at Oxford Circus in full view of everyone. I had a camera in my hand and I just thought, yeah, you're right. I know who she is. But as far as she's concerned, everybody here could just move on and never see them again. And I think, you know, if this person can stand in the street and pick their nose, I can hold up a camera and talk. Occasionally you'll get people who react to it. They'll photobomb you or do something silly, but that's quite fun. It's like you're drawing people into your circle rather than alienating people.
True. I think as well, maybe I'm just slightly on the generation gap, because I think teenagers now, for them it's so normal to have the camera here, just talk to themselves and their friends and being in a little bubble. But I think for me it still feels a little bit too like, is somebody really interested in me and what I have to say? Think
about how much money rich men spent on having paintings of themselves created over the last 1,000 years. They spent months sitting for those portraits. So if you can't do this with a camera, I think it's more about like the pressures on particularly women to not put themselves out there and not take up too much space, rather than it being a problem. You know, like anyone who talks about this generation being narcissistic hasn't seen a single Holbein of Henry VIII, as far as I'm concerned.
True. So maybe might be a Hester vlog. You never know. But also the difference, I think, with you vlogging, it's very personal. You share a lot about your personal life and your children and what you do. And when you post stuff online, you're always going to get comments, mostly positive, but you always have the few negatives. How do you deal with it when it's about you and not about something you make, like, for example, what I do?
So when I get personal comments, often I just delete them because, you know, it's my platform. I don't need to give them airtime. And in general, I let it run off me. When people make comments about my company, I'm a lot more sensitive. But when people make comments about me and who I am, I just think, well, you know, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm trying to achieve in my life. You don't know what my objectives are. You're not one of my inner circle whose opinion, like, I could live or die by. And as such, it doesn't really matter what they think.
Yeah.
So I just take it with a pinch of salt. They are out there to have a bad time. If I have anything in the world, it's a strong voice when it comes to calling out other people's silliness.
You can't win them all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to love you. We all love you though, Kat. But you talked about Blogtacular before, which you created, which is a place for the creative community of bloggers, freelancers and indie businesses to come together. And what made you start this brand, start the Blogtacular business?
So a friend of mine who's actually also called Kat and I were just getting really frustrated that there were no good places to go as bloggers. We had just run an event and we were really just just annoyed that nobody was paying bloggers at blog conferences, that the talks that they put on were really low value. They didn't have much content that you could take away and improve your own work with. And, I had, like, weirdly, and it sounds so stupid when I say it, but it was my birthday and I had a dream that somebody bought me a ticket to this amazing conference, and there were loads of really interesting people there. There were loads of really good talks from bloggers that I really wanted to hear from. And I woke up and, like, I realised that the ticket wasn't real.
Oh.
And I was so angry. I was just so furious. And I feel like I carry dreams with me. Like, my memory just holds on to them. And I just went through, like, a couple of weeks, like, and I kept remembering that I didn't have this ticket. And I was like, oh, I'm so mad about this. And so in the end, I was like, do you know what? Let's just create a conference. Let's make it happen and see what we can do. And from the first year, it's had the most amazing atmosphere. People are so kind, they're so lovely to each other. Everyone wants everyone around them to succeed, which is something I had been a bit nervous about because I'd never been to a conference where people treated each other like that. So actually being at the helm of it, I remember finishing the first event, and just everybody sort of swarming around, chatting and like laughing and just bursting into tears because I couldn't believe it had happened. I couldn't believe that it was real. And, we're several years down the line from that dream. We're about to do our 4th event, and it just gets better every year. It is a place where people's careers really take a huge leap forward.
Yeah.
And, if they're hobby bloggers, they just fall more and more in love with what they're doing, and they find different ways to express themselves. And people have started businesses together. They have, just excelled in every single way. And it's a complete joy for me to be the catalyst in the middle of this. So I have no illusions about the fact that I am just the person putting out the chairs and making sure it happens. But it's a wonderful position to be in, to have so many people cite what we do at Blogtacular as part of their success.
Because that community feel Blogtacular has is absolutely amazing, because I've been part of the community for a few years now. And before that, I didn't realise it's so important to have a community around you of like-minded people.
Yeah.
Can you explain to people that don't know why it is so important to have this group of people around you that support you, roots for you?
That's a really interesting question. And I think you're right. You don't know that you need it until it's there. And then suddenly you're like, oh, this is what it's like breathing oxygen. Like, it feels so good. And I guess it's like when you go to school and you go there with all of these hopes of meeting people, and, you hear these stories of camaraderie and we've been friends for life since school. And I just never experienced that. And now that I have this creative community around me, what it does is it means there are people who understand you. First off, anytime you want to talk about what it is you're doing, somebody is there who understands you, who has a different perspective, who has experience. So you get all of this support and friendship. Secondly, it's a melting pot for ideas. And this is where I feel really inspired a lot of the time, is because when you're around other creative people and other people who are doing interesting things and generating ideas, it inspires you and your ideas begin to flow. And whether or not they're based on other people's ideas, or somebody interesting just said something and suddenly a fire lit inside of you. And I think that's why you get these periods in time where there are places and spaces, or a year group in a university where there's a range of people who have affected popular culture, and you're like, why was it that one pocket? And I think it's the community aspect.
So, and there's space for everyone, right?
Exactly. I don't feel there's any competitiveness within our creative community, because everybody understands that we're all like just branching out into this massive universe full of space, and it's not in spite of somebody else. Your success is never at the cost of somebody else's success, which it would be maybe in a corporation or somewhere like that.
And that's the whole Blogtacular philosophy, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like a huge generosity of spirit and support.
So the new conference you talked about coming up the 10th of June, and I think if you're a blogger, a vlogger, creative content maker, you should definitely come down to London, because it's absolutely amazing. Yeah. And what can people expect by coming this year? Or want to come this year?
This year is going to be really lovely. One of our focuses has always been like really good quality content. And this year we're thinking more about people's growth and engagement. So less about numbers and more about the expansion of your brand and the depth of your followership. So we have sessions on marketing, working with brands. We have a business masterclass, which will talk about services and products with Nikki McWilliams, Rachel Basinger and Kim Lawler, who are all like really amazing indie business directors. And then we have some more creative classes. So we have a really interesting writing workshop with Greta Solomon, which is going to take the principles of songwriting and like help you apply them to your writing to give it more flavour and to start to bring your personality out into what you write. So I think that one's going to be
amazing.
It's going to be so interesting.
That one
we also have a video workshop with Xanthi Barkley. And we ran this last year and it was so popular we had to turn people away. So we always want to give people a bit more time. And then our keynotes are always a moment to really inspire people and make them think differently about how they're approaching their work, their life, their relationships. And this year, our opening keynote speaker sent me a one-line idea for a talk. And immediately that I read it, I was like, oh, this is the message that we need to hear this year. So I'm really excited for people to hear that talk. That's Natalie Liu, and our closing keynote speaker is Emma Gannon. And again, Emma has just achieved so much in the last couple of years. She's a real inspiration for like the generation of women coming up behind us and what's possible in this sort of second wave of being online.
So very exciting, right?
Yes.
So if we want to buy tickets, we have to go to
blogtacular.com/tickets.
And where can we find you, Kat, online?
I am on every single platform as @thatcat or @Blogtacular, and my website is housewifeconfidential.co.uk and blogtacular.com.
And I will link Kat's vlogs as well to this post because they are really good. Just definitely watch them. So guys, just at the end, before we let Kat go and do all her 6,000 jobs that she has, quick fire round. Dream podcast interview.
Ooh, I think Nigella Lawson. I think she has so much behind her writing. I would like to dig into her creative life. I just think, I mean, I'm in love with her, but I think that her writing is fascinating, and I read her books as books rather than as cookbooks first.
And dream Blogtacular speaker.
Okay, I asked Casey Neistat to come every single year. We nearly got him the first year, but sadly it was Mother's Day in the States. Otherwise he would have spoken, but I still have hopes that one day we'll get him at the conference.
I would say biggest vlog inspiration, but that's probably Casey as well.
No, I think in terms of online, one of my biggest inspirations, and it's a chef again, it's Jamie Oliver. I think that everything he does is really well considered. His whole network across every platform, there is a really interesting message, and I know that a lot of people dismiss him or think of him as just boxed into food, but I've been watching his digital progression for a number of years, and every time he does something, I think, how can I apply that to what I do?
Almost exactly the same here. I buy his magazine just for the layout. I think the layout in his magazine are spot on. If you guys are into layouts and how to use photography in your business, go and check out Jamie and the people I work with him, because he's absolutely amazing.
He gets every single talented food,
completely right?
Like food stylist, food photographer, like recipe author. Everyone is working at his company, even like people like Anna Jones.
It's all on brand as well. I think everything he does merges together.
Yeah.
So definitely for me, he's the one as well.
Yeah.
For inspiration. Blog, vlog, or podcast?
Oh my goodness. Well, I could only have one for the rest of my life. I can't choose. I think I would kill myself. Right? I would kill myself first. Okay. I think at the moment probably video. I think it's more immediate and it has a deeper connection with people. But blogging and podcasting have their places, and they are so important. I don't think there's any way to have video without having a site as well, and that's why you see like huge vloggers like Zoella putting effort into their blogs as well, because it still has value. Camera
or drone? Oh, Kat is a really good drone flyer. Oh my god, if you check out her vlog again, there's really nice drone footage.
I do love my flying camera, but only because it's a camera that flies. Okay. I would always take my DSLR.
And most asked question?
How do you do it all?
Good, I started the whole video with that.
And
Fail.
yeah, the answer is I don't have friends or clean my house.
If you love color, right?
Yes.
If you look at your whole social media presence, you love color. If you could only choose one color for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Do I have to wear it?
Have it around your house, wear it.
Okay, blue.
Everything. Same here. I should probably know as my hair merges into my shirt. Who would you stalk to be your new BFF?
Okay, so don't tell my actual BFF what we're up to, but Casey Neistat.
Yeah, I think we should do a little group there. Group BFFs. Last question, where do you see Blogtacular in 10 years?
So in 10 years, I see Blogtacular being potentially an academy. I think it is going to grow and grow, become more permanent. I would love to have like permanent spaces where people could create and learn. But again, that's a pipe dream. That's just, maybe in 10 years.
Hey, your dream for Blogtacular happened at the conference, you never know. Blogtacular Academy, 10 years time, guys. I will definitely enroll. And thank you so much, Kat, for your time. I know you're super busy with the conference, so it really means a lot that you could sit down with us for 10 minutes.
It's fine. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Isn't Kat just a fountain of knowledge? It's so lovely sitting down with her and talk blog, vlog, podcast, and anything that keeps her busy online, because she's just such a talented lady. It's really nice to dip into her pool of knowledge for just a little half hour. If you enjoy watching this video as much as I liked making it, please give it a thumbs up. And I'll be back next week with a new video. See you then!